Alright, hello. Welcome to part one of my Devil May Cry 1 playthrough. Um, I'm not gonna commit to doing all of the Devil May Cry games like back to back to back. I reserve the right to do, a little bit at a time. I'm still gonna, intersperse rivals matches and whatever else I want to do, but yeah, I figure, Devil May Cry is one of my favorite series of all time, so, like, what the hey, might as well give it a go as far as streaming it and doing I guess a let's play of it. I'm not gonna go through the background of the game or anything like that. I feel like, it's been done to death at this point, but I just, I'm gonna point out some things that I like about it, some things that I don't like about it. It will be a new game plus playthrough. I'm going to be playing through with a new file. It's going to be on normal, I think. Yeah, I think normal is what I'm going to do. Because I haven't played it in a while. And
Let's rock, baby.
it'll be nice to get a refresher on it. But for context as far as it goes for me, huh, it's interesting. I played this game on, I think all the difficulties. Hold on, let me look, because it might be in options. No, not looking like it. Oh, that's not what I wanted. No. Let's see. Cause if I load this, will it start with an opening cutscene? Okay, well, good.
2 millenniums ago, there was a war between the human world and the other, the underworld. But somebody from the underworld woke up to justice and stood up against this legion alone. His name was Sparda. Later, he quietly reigned the human world and continued to preserve harmony until his death. He became a legend. The legendary Dark Knight, Sparda.
Devil May Cry. Sorry, we closed at 9. Again, no password. Can't seem to get any real business. Whoa, slow down, babe. Well, what do we have here? Nature calls? Send it back.
So, you must be the handyman who'll take any dirty job. Am I correct?
Almost. I only take special jobs, if you know what I mean.
You're the man who lost a mother and a brother to evil 20 years ago. The son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparda, Mr. Dante.
Well, the way I figure it, in this business, a lot of people comes around. And if I kill each one that comes, eventually I should hit the jackpot sooner or later.
In that case, you should be used to this sort of thing.
Are you really the son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparda? Didn't your daddy teach you how to use a sword?
Sword. Time to go to work, guys. Even as a child, I had powers. There's demonic blood in me.
What strength?
You were the first one to know about my vengeance. Looks like I'm getting closer.
It seems that way, but I'm not your enemy. My name is Trish. I came here to seek your help, to put an end to the underworld.
What?
Years ago, Mundus, the Emperor of the Underworld, resurrected.
Mundus?
Yes. His powers were sealed by Sparta. He's attempting to gain control of the human world once again. He has been preparing to open the gate on Malay Island. The castle is above this cliff. Come on, let's go! Ha!
Alright. Now, I might wander around and get lost, because this game is pretty, it can be pretty easy to get lost in, but there's also ways to, ways to figure out where to go from there. I don't even know what this does. See, I don't even... sorry. It's been a while since I've played this. I'm seeing things where I'm like, I don't know if it works like that. But yeah, anyway. So... let's see if I can... I'm by no means an expert in Devil May Cry 1. I'll be the first to readily and freely admit that. It's not something that I'm super well versed in. My bread and butter is Devil May Cry 3. That's the one I've played the most. But I certainly do. I've certainly grown to respect this game a lot more as the years have gone on. Specifically, Matthew Matosis's playthrough of the game. I don't think that's the right way to say that, but Matthew Matosis, his playthrough of the game, he did an all S rank of Dante Must Die. And if there's one Devil May Cry video you watch, it should be that one, because that sort of goes ways to explain what makes this game so good. You know what I mean? At least in my eyes. Like, there's a lot that he goes into explaining the details of enemy design and so on and so forth. And that's not quite what I'm going to be doing here. This is just more of my experience with the game, what I like, what I don't like, and hopefully finding out why I like and don't like these things. But this beginning area, one thing that's it's more, this is more of a New Game Plus perspective of this area. But when you're starting out, you know, you're meant to run around and collect all these red orbs like I'm doing now. But if you have already done that, you know, if you have New Game Plus and you have a surplus of orbs, which you may or may not have, you don't have to do that. If you have enough orbs to break the red gate, you can just break the red gate. You don't have to, you know, go through and you don't have to run around and grab all this stuff. Now I do, just to show like kind of what that experience would be like on a new playthrough, but yeah, I think the amount of red orbs in the room adds up specifically to 45, so yeah, just man, this game is just nice, very nice atmosphere to it, you know. But obviously, it's a bit of a slow start for something, for a series that has this sort of modern reputation of being real wacky, being real crazy, and that's kind of true. You know, this game is a bit, you know, extreme, I guess, in personality, but a lot of that isn't the. I don't think it's kind of intentional, if that makes any sense. Like, it's intentional that Dante has a personality. It's intentional that, you know, the game has personality, but like, it's not just, you know, crazy. Like, I feel like that's something that it's sort of turned into over time, because that's what people expected Devil May Cry to be. But it didn't, like, I don't think it was necessarily meant to start that way. I think Dante, like, yeah, he's got personality, he's got you know, traits all of his own, but he's also very much a serious character with serious concerns and desires and, you know, opinions, I guess would be the best way to put it. I don't even know if I'm phrasing that right, but I mean, he's not all just like this goofy, wacky, woohoo pizza man, and that's even something that's even true for like Devil May Cry 3, 4, and 5 Dante, where he's sort of, where that personality trait is sort of been blanderized in those games. But even in those games, he's serious. He has, you know, actual traits and concerns. He's not just all about the good times and, you know, doing crazy stuff. And again, it's this balance thing that I talk about a lot. Like, I feel like a lot of times characters get, you know, put into these corners of they have to behave a certain way, and if they don't, they're not the characters, or they're a poor interpretation of the characters. And while that's certainly, I think, true on some level, you know, there's characterization and that stuff matters, I don't think you have to, like, hype up certain traits to the extreme to get that point across. Like, I think if Dante was a little bit more serious, you could still keep much of the craziness there, I guess would be the best way to put it. But again, it's like, I think the point of him being more, having a bigger personality is in service of the fact that everything around him is so serious, you know? But we're at a point now where everybody around him is sort of acting kind of glib and, you know, apathetic and, you know, indignant of the things going on around him, so it makes his personality a lot less special. And I think that was like sort of the draw of the characters starting out, especially because Nero was sort of very self-serious. Yeah, he had a personality of like a punk rock kid or whatever, but he was still serious. Like, he had those interests, I guess I would say, but he wasn't always just like this, you know, dodging fucking buses, sitting in them, acting casual. Like, that wasn't who Nero was, I don't think. Obviously, we'll get to that more when we get to Devil May Cry 4, but, like, certainly now, everybody in the series is sort of just this glib, you know, trash-talking, comedy, wacky guy, and it's just like, I don't know if that's really what this series needs. I think this series needs characters that are self-serious, needs characters that are, you know, a little bit, a little bit more grounded, I guess, to counterbalance Dante's more aloof nature. But in any event, I don't want to get too hung up on characterization in a game where the story sort of takes a backseat to the main course, which is the gameplay. Hello? Okay. I was like, what the hell? Get to it. Excuse me. Actually, let's go to power up. Let's see what we got. If there's anything we need. Alright, cool. I did get everything. I also won't be doing any of the secret missions. I've already done them all. That's never been my favorite part of playing a Devil May Cry game, is the secret missions, especially when you're playing as the other characters. Now, mind you, that's not a real concern in this game. I don't think, I mean, I don't know what your reward is for beating Dante Must Die. I've actually never done it. That's sort of one of my white whale things, where it's like, I have to do that at some point in my life. And I will, it's just, I'm probably not going to stream it, you know, that's something that's a very personal thing for me, so I don't feel a real desire to, you know, go out of my way to put that out on the internet. I mean, mind you, if I do something like an all S-rank Dante Must Die run, then yeah, that'll be something I'll be willing to do. But even then, something like that won't be a, something like that won't be a, you know, super clean thing. It's probably going to be just like one mission at a time until I get it S-ranked on Dante Must Die, but I'm not committed to that, you know? I'm really not, because I have a lot of games that I want to play, and part of the reason why I'm not good at a lot of games is because I have this tendency to just brain dump what I'm playing, you know, or what I'm not playing, if that makes any sense. Like, if I'm not playing it, I don't need to know about it, if that makes any sense. Okay, we gotta go find that. That might be in the first room I skipped over. And that's why I examine these different things around. It's not just because I'm want you to see everything, but it helps me sort of remember, like, okay, I need to go here for this, or I need to do that, you know. Like I said, I don't really retain much of what I'm not playing, you know. Unless it's something that's like very, you know, important to me, like, you know, something like a Metroid. I'll always fucking have that in my mind, or have that in the back of my head. Super Metroid specifically. Like, I'll always know what I need to get and the general area of where things are. And that's also, like, that kind of mentality of just not retaining knowledge that I'm not using is kind of why I say I'm not a very smart person, because I just don't hold on to stuff that I don't think is important at the moment. But, in any event, a rusty key. I already have a rusty key, don't I? Unless it's a different rusty key. Okay. Alright, I had that room all messed up. Oh, there it is. Alright. I forgot when you hit select, it does that. We're actually going to use this because when we fight the oh, I'm stupid. I was not paying attention to what I grabbed. I looked away when I grabbed it. There you go. That's funny. One of the things that I really love about this game is when you play on harder difficulties, there's remixed enemy placements. Not everything will be the exact same when you're playing the game. So certain enemies that'll like get a cutscene for their introduction in the main, in like your normal playthrough or your hard playthrough, that won't be your first time seeing them on the Dante Must Die playthrough. Like, there's a big sort of reveal for when your first shadow shows up, the little black cat creature. When that shows up, it's sort of like, you know, there's a bit of a you know, they big it up a little bit, I guess would be the phrase, or they make it kind of ceremonious in showing up. But in Dante Must Die, it shows up a lot earlier than that, and that's kind of true for a lot of the more complex enemies in this game. And I think that that's kind of cool. I think more games should do that. Like, I think oftentimes with difficulty, people will just do things like raise the damage, or, you know, raise the health of enemies, or lower your health, or lower your damage threshold. And it's sort of like, I don't know, I think that's kind of a lazy way to manage difficulty. I feel like more effort needs to be put into making enemies more interesting, and it's something that Halo, of all things, I think does really well. Sort of, the placement of enemies isn't remixed, but what kind of enemies you get is. You know, like when you play Halo Reach on Legendary, you know, you'll get the same type of elites, you'll get the same elites, the same grunts, the same brutes, and so on and so forth. But when you play on Legendary, you know, there'll be ultra elites, or, you know, more powerful grunts with armor and stuff. And I think that that's a more interesting way to handle difficulty than just increasing a health bar, even though realistically that's functionally what those different types of enemies do. But they're also more aggressive, they're also more, they have better weapons, or, you know, things of that nature. And I think that's how it should be. And a lot of people will accuse Devil May Cry of doing this thing of, you know, having pretty lazy, you know, enemies or punching bags type things. And when people say things like that, it's sort of like, oh, you've only ever played this game on normal. You know, like, you've only ever played this game on an easier difficulty. If that is genuinely what you think, like if you think all Devil May Cry is just you beating up on punching bags, I don't think you've really played it. I don't think you've really engaged with it in a meaningful way. And to be fair, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, in order to have an opinion on Devil May Cry, you need to have beaten it on the hardest difficulty. I don't think that that's really what I'm trying to get at. What I'm trying to get at is, you know, have some awareness of your blind spots, you know what I mean? Like, if you honestly think all Devil May Cry is beating up on punching bag enemies that don't fight back, I encourage you to play it on a harder difficulty. And if you still think that after, you know, playing it on the hardest difficulty, then I think you just might be really good at it. Like, I wouldn't, because I find it really engaging playing it on the hardest difficulty. I find the enemies to be more dynamic on the hardest difficulty. But that's just me. Like, I mean, my experiences might be colored in the fact that I'm just not very good at it, but, you know, I gotta fuck that up. Alright. I love doing that. I love fighting these enemies. That was one of those moments where, when I figured that out, that was like using the shotgun on those enemies, I forget what they're called, was one of those moments where, when I figured that out, I felt so accomplished. I felt like, oh my goodness, this feels amazing. And I think it might have been just a case of me not wanting to use the shotgun as much. Like, I just wanted to, you know, use something else, or not wanting to use the pistols as much, wanting to use something else other than the pistols. But yeah. Yes, you shall use the Staff of Judgment. Please do. I think you might get Alistair there. When you say Alistair because of the OR in it. Yeah, don't expect high-level play from me, please. Especially Devil May Cry 1. This is, I don't know if I've said it already, but this is definitely one of those games where I have an immense amount of respect for it, but I'll probably never master it in the way I have Devil May Cry 3 or want to master something like Devil May Cry 4 or 5. You know, it's one of those things where it's really good. I think it holds up really well. I think any complaints about it are preference based or I won't say unfounded, but certainly more like it says a lot about you, what you depending on what you complain about it. You know, there are things that I think are problems with this game. I'm not going to sit here and say it's perfect and void of criticism. I'm just going to say that I think what you have to say about it will often speak to you as a person rather than the game itself, you know. And especially if people use phrases like it's archaic or it's old or it's dated, like I don't know if those things really apply because this is the foundational basis of the rest of the series. If you think this is archaic, if you think this is outdated, you probably think that the other ones, that should stand a reason for the other ones too, because they're all sort of that way. They're all sort of based on this. This is the foundation. This is the, you know, grounds upon which the series was built. So like I just don't understand that. You know what I mean? Like if you want to say, oh, it's improved on much better in Devil May Cry 3 and 4, fine, whatever. You can hold that opinion. I won't begrudge that. I can understand how someone would reach that conclusion. But calling this one just straight up bad because, you know, you think it's too slow or whatever, I just don't agree with that. I just don't think that that's really a quality perspective. I have to imagine this room gives people fits in the no damage run playthroughs. I know with Matthew Matosis he mentioned that this level in particular, or that section in particular, it's unavoidable damage, but still, you know, just seeing that health bar go down a tick even a little bit has to be a bit frustrating. Alright, now we're gonna have the first boss of the game, I believe. Yeah.
What a big surprise. I hope for your sake you got something inside that big body of yours.
Oh, that hit me. Alright. Oh gosh, I missed that. I missed that. Yeah, as you can see, me playing Dante Must Die is going to be a very long process for me to get there. And I'll try not to do this strat too often. I feel like this is a bit cheap, but, you know, if they let me do it, you know, I'm going to do it. I don't, you know, it's there for a reason, right? I guess not my problem, but my only gripe about this boss is this arena doesn't really lend itself well to this boss in particular, I don't think. I think this boss could have been in a different place, and it wouldn't have been that big of a problem, I don't think. Dang it, I misjudged that. But he's still pretty, you know, he's still really easy. He's not at all the hardest boss in the game or anything like that. But I could definitely see how if you're a new player, if you haven't played an action game of the level of care the Devil May Cry has put into it, that you could probably be a bit of a toughie. And I know when I played it as a teenager, I was definitely filtered by that boss quite a bit as a kid. I don't know if I ever beat it as a teenager. I know when I came back as an adult, I obviously beat it plenty of times, but I don't really remember, I'll be honest with you. But definitely I could see how, if you're someone who is a novice at action games, you really struggle with that. Especially since I don't think Devil May Cry 1 comes with an easy difficulty. Like, you get normal, hard, and Dante Must Die. Oh my goodness. Now, I'm sure there's a way to, like, do that a little bit better than what I did, but... Again, sort of speaks to my bang my head against the wall approach to my problems. And it's also why Dante Must Die is sort of a, It's definitely going to be the biggest challenge for me, because when it came to Devil May Cry, 3, 4, and 5, you get, certain incentives. Not incentives, that's not what I would call it, but you get certain, benefits for beating the game on the harder difficulties before it. And so, I think this game series was purpose-built to, yeah, right. But I think this game was purpose-built for you to play as the normal Dante or normal Virgil or whatever to be able to beat it. But I just, when a game gives you a method of abusing, maybe not abusing, but using something that you might not otherwise be able to in other games on the harder difficulties, I figure why not, Like, it's there for a reason. Okay. I forgot that enemy does that. When you beat it, when you get it to its pinch phase, it'll grab you and blow up. I think we have to go down, but I'm gonna double check to make sure, because I think the way this game structures out its missions, they're all pretty short. And okay, so real quick, this was what I wanted to talk about, or this was one of the things I wanted to talk about. There was a post on X.com, formerly known as Twitter, where this person said that Devil May Cry 1 and the Wonderful 101, which are both Hideki Kamiya games, aren't really about... Okay, Dante, thank you. Aren't really about doing combos and... they don't have combos in them besides one-button strings. And that's one of those opinions where it's like, what are you talking about? What, to you, is a combo? If you're gonna delineate it like that, like, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? Like, yes, there is 100% combos in this game. And yes, all of them are pretty much based around the Y button, or the triangle button, or whatever controller you're using. Every Devil May Cry game is like that. The difference is... Wait, what? Hold on. There's something written. The sword is the key to freeing the soul. I thought you used it there. Maybe I'm stupid? Am I a goober here? But okay, sorry. I get a little fucking sidetracked. But yes, this game has combos in it, 100%. And if you think it doesn't, you're a fool. Like, this whole game is predicated on you being scored and judged by your combos. If you just mash the Y button with reckless abandon, you will be given a lower rank. That is a guarantee, because the amount of orbs you get is determined by how good your combos are. So you want to stick into that A or B range pretty consistently when you can, when and where you can. So saying that this game isn't combo focused, because that was what this person's main point, was that, oh, Wonderful 101 and Devil May Cry 1 aren't combo focused, and Bayonetta is only combo focused because Hideki Kamiya wanted to cater to, you know, the Hideaki Itsuno style of, you know, button mashing. And it's like, bro, what the hell are you talking about? Like, yes, Devil May Cry 3 built on the mechanics of Devil May Cry 1 by allowing you to use 2 weapons at once and on-the-fly weapon switching and styles. That is a progression of the game. Devil May Cry 4 increased that by allowing you to use, I think, all of your weapons at once as Dante, and on-the-fly style switching. Like, that is a growth in the game. That is a, you know, evolution of the games. But no matter what, you know, the buttons you're pressing are going to be the same. Like, you're still hitting the Y or triangle button to perform your combos. Like, it's not like that drastically changed with Itsuno. It was Kamiya that added the second attack button that did, you know, another version of an attack. It's, you know, he did the XY thing as opposed to just the Y thing. I don't know. It's just one of those, like, things where someone says something and it's just like, bro, how could you be so stupid? And then you look at then he posted that he beat this game on Dante Must Die all S rank. Like, good for you, you're great at the game, just you suck as a person. Like, that's a terrible opinion to have.
Place I thought I'd find anyone with some guts.
There is some really strange desync going on with the audio. I hope that's not in the stream as well. But I got caught up in that diatribe of unscripted malarkey. We get to do one of my favorite boss fights in this game, the Nero Angelo fights, or Nilo Angelo fights. I think I agree with Matthew Mitsosis. Nero Angelo is much better than Nilo Angelo, and it's a shame Devil May Cry 5 maintained Nilo Angelo. That is very depressing. But still a very fun fight, even on the easier difficulties. But I think he is definitely a boss fight that is benefited greatly by the harder difficulty. Whoa! I whiffed it. I whiffed it. I whiffed it. Now, he might beat me. I'm just full disclosure. Like I said, I haven't played this game in a long time. Not a long time, but I haven't played this game in a couple of years, so he may very well beat the shit out of me. I don't know why he's doing Stinger. But that time I did want to do it. Sorry, I get a little dialed in sometimes playing this game. I just get so into it. I mean, like, I understand what that guy was saying, that, like, oh, the combos aren't as intricate as they are in Devil May Cry 3 and 4, and I certainly can agree with that, but obviously combos were something that were a focus. You know, he wanted this to be flashy, be kind of, not irreverent, but, you know, show off a little, have some style. Like, that is the reason why there's rankings in this game, specifically so that you can, show off a little and, you know, say, hey, I got the S rank for this, or I got an S rank combo. Like, that is the reason why they judge you for it. So saying that that isn't part of it and that Kamiya capitulated to fan desires in Bayonetta is such a shitty way to look at Kamiya, by the way, and it's also just, like, wrong. Like, it is a period point blank wrong way to view how he designed his games. Like, if you want to say you prefer the more simplistic stylings of the Wonderful 101 and Devil May Cry 1, that's fine. But phrase it that way. Don't say Kamiya got it wrong or whatever. Like, whatever diatribe you want to put out. Like, just don't be stupid, I guess is the point. Alright. Hey, B rank, let's go. Fun boss battle. Oh, right, yeah, I forgot all about this. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Are you gonna blow up on me? Okay, good. I saw it coming, I just didn't react fast enough. I dropped that for whatever reason. It was really cool seeing this guy. Oh, okay, you whiffed. Good. It was really cool seeing this guy come back in Devil May Cry 5 and having kind of his own move sets that make him unique and stand out. And we'll see more of that in Devil May Cry 5 when we get there. But yeah, I was a big fan of how that game sort of referenced and had reverence for the other games in the series, you know? Like, because oftentimes I feel like this game, and certainly Devil May Cry 2, and I'm not saying forgetting Devil May Cry 2 isn't justified, but certainly this game and Devil May Cry 2 are often forgotten in the grand scheme of the Devil May Cry conversation. And like I said, with Devil May Cry 2, I happen to think that there's things that you can garner from that are of not good quality, but are of good stylistic value. But Devil May Cry 1, it's the foundation. Like, it's the franchise. You know what I mean? Like, you can sit here and talk all you want about how much you think Devil May Cry 3 improved upon it, or 4 improved upon it, whatever, but Devil May Cry 1, like, it's the reason why 3D action games work the way they do. You know, it is the standard, period. Like, if you were going to make a 3D action game, this is the standard by which you will be judged. Do you meet the basic requirements and foundational, you know, mechanics that this game has? And I'm not saying every 3D action game needs to play this way, but every 3D action game needs to be as well considered as this game, I think. And I guess that's my overall arching point. we're gonna go back to the shotgun. In fact, I might just keep the shotgun equipped because there's only a few times I think I need the pistols or I want to use the pistols. But the shotgun is a good catch-all, and that's kind of true for the whole series, in my opinion. The shotgun being kind of good to use. Right. I do have to go into the bug room. Oops, sorry. I don't think these enemies are in the Dante Must Die playthrough. I don't know. There's like some enemies that just do not appear in the Dante Must Die playthrough simply because they are just so kind of easy. But I wouldn't be opposed to having a Devil May Cry game, or one of the things I guess I should say about Devil May Cry 5 is that they sort of build on these types of enemies. Like, a lot of the enemies in Devil May Cry 5 are bug-like, so, you know, they kind of took this thing and made it a little bit more interesting. Not saying that they were directly inspired by this or they wanted to reference this or anything like that, but it's kind of cool that they went bug style with Devil May Cry 5. And I do like that a lot of the games have their sort of unique enemy personality, if that makes any sense. Like, a lot of, like, there's a consistent, you know, design stylization choice with the enemies in each Devil May Cry game. Like, in this, it's marionettes and, you know, things like that. But I think this game, of all of them, is the most diverse in terms of how enemies are used, because you've got marionettes, you've got, you know, bugs, you've got lizard things, you've got, you know, the pseudo Death Scissors, Grim Reaper type things, you know, like, there's a little bit of everything going on here, and there's a, you know, sort of touch on all the demonic mythology, I guess, is the right word, but makes it a little bit more interesting than your average, action game, I think. But I don't know. Like, I could be just talking out of my ass about that. Ooh. Now, when he does his little diving around thing, that's where I get a little catch-up brain. Because I have no idea where he's coming from. With it. I guess one of my bad Devil May Cry habits is I have a tendency to keep the lock on as much as I can, as opposed to sort of freewheeling it, or not freewheeling it, but certainly riding with my gut instinct. I rely on it a little too much, I think. I just noticed that when he does that attack, there's a little, like, water droplets that appear on the ground. They make it a little bit easier to notice exactly where he's coming from. But I think it's kind of cool. And of course, now that I noticed it, I couldn't see it. Got him. Ouch. His last death throws got me. Key that shines in the ardoir? Okay. I think I know where this goes. I think I have to run back up to that room. I am gonna save you, though. Right. Sorry. I was trying to figure out, like, what my save files were, what I wanted to do with them. Okay, so... Interesting. Alright, anyway. Ah, that's funny. I forgot all about this. I had forgotten all about that. That's awesome. And they give you little health things if you get hit. I'm almost certain those health things are not in Dante Must Die. But I don't know for sure. But it's that... It's really cool how they do things like that to get the player panicking a little. Like, that's something that I think has, like... I'm not gonna say a lot of games don't do, but it's like it has that faith in you that it'll put this kind of overwhelming thing, or what can be overwhelming, in your way and say, like, I believe you can get through this. And that's something that's sort of the through line of a lot of Hideki Kamiya's games, is that he sort of will really challenge you and will really put you through your paces, but has complete and utter faith that you'll be able to make it through those challenges. And I think that goes to show what kind of person he is, and, you know, what he thinks about games. You know, he thinks games should be a challenge, but he also thinks they should be just fun to play too. Because I don't think there's a Hideki Kamiya game I played that hasn't also been incredibly fun to play just for the fun of it, but all of them have been certainly challenging on some level. And mind you, this is coming from someone who hasn't played Okami just yet. That is the one Kamiya game that I haven't played, and I'll be honest with you, it's the one Kamiya game I have the least amount of interest in playing. Not because I don't like adventure games or something, it's just more of a, you know, I'm way more of an action game guy, and I think me falling in love with Bayonetta and Devil May Cry was more of a happenstance thing than like, oh, these are all made by the same person. You know what I mean? I think it's better to sort of put two and two together, that you happen to like a bunch of games made by the same person, than to play all the games made by a person to determine whether you like it, if that makes any sense. Like, it's better to find out that they're all the same person. Because playing, you know, through the Devil May Cry series, and then, you know, up to 4, and then playing Bayonetta and realizing that that was the same person, was way more of a satisfying experience than being like, oh, Hideki Kamiya made Bayonetta, I gotta try that out. You know what I mean? I think we have our last nightmare fight. Yeah, we do. But I think we gotta do something here first. Nope. It happens right now. Alright, let's see if I can deflect this fireball.
I was getting tired of playing your childish games.
If he does it. Got him. I'm good at this game. Come on, jump, buddy. I whiffed it. I don't know why I was trying to jump attack it. I cannot believe I deflected that at point blank. I whiffed it. He is not willing to jump for me today. Or maybe I'm just not doing the right thing to get it out of him. Whipped it. Come on, buddy. Oh, I whipped it. I had him right in the palm of my hand! I just misplaced myself. That's a shame. I think that was when you could do it. But I whipped it. Oh my goodness. So thick. Got him. Oh, he's not dead. Good for him. I thought I had him. He was just doing a death throw.
You're right. I'm his son, Dante. Sweet dreams.
Defeated the Phantom. Incredible power.
No, was that the whole mission? I don't think so. No, it wasn't. Alright, I think I know where this goes. Oh my gosh, jump down there, Dante. Goodness. Now, if I recall right, one of these is a timed challenge. Yeah, I think it's this. You are a fool if you think I'm gonna fight you, bud. Sorry. Unless you are absolutely in my way. That was generous. That was very generous. I think one of the complaints I've heard about this game is that you will often fight the bosses 3 times, but I think each time you fight the boss, it's sort of indicative of your growth and theirs. You know, like I think it was Matthew Matosis that said by the time you reach the 3rd and final phase of each of the bosses, you hold no illusions of whether they're holding back against you or not. Like, you really get the sense that they're going all out, and I think that's true for more bosses than some. Like, I think Nightmare, I think he's basically going all out every time you fight him, but certainly this next boss and the boss after, I get the sense that, you know, maybe they weren't really giving you all they had the first time around, but then as you know, bested them, they tried a little bit harder each time they fought you, and I think that that's an interesting, method to structure your boss fights. But again, that to me feels more like a suspicion type of thing. Like, I'm not like super well versed in the bosses and how they move, but it certainly feels like there's a progressive scale to how difficult the bosses are each time you fight them. And I think Nightmare is a special case because I don't think he has like the typical 3 phases. He has the moment where he, you know, surprises you in the hallway 2 times, and then he has the, I think, 2 regular boss fights. But even that feels like something of a progression for him, you know. But I do get the sense, him in particular, he's trying to go all out every time he fights you. Now, this is interesting because if you on New Game Plus already have Ifrit, you don't have to go through this way and do the little puzzle or the platforming challenge in there. You can just run up to that door and punch it, but we're gonna do it anyway for the sake of completion. You know, fight some enemies, do some interesting things. I think it's more interesting that way. And I think also you get a lower rank if you avoid it. But I'm not really 100% sure if you can just do it straight away. I don't know if I've tried it. I probably have. And that's the other thing, right? Like, there's these amenities that they give you as far as like items in the shop that you can use. You can use holy water, you can use the grenade launcher, you can do a bunch of things to make the game a little bit easier for yourself on Dante Must Die, but you will get a lower rank for it. Inevitably, you will beat it, but, you know, if you really want to get that higher rank, you kind of have to engage with it. And that's, I think, the power of this game, right? It's like, okay, you can beat it, you're just going to be called dull the whole time. You know? And I think that provides an incentive. Now, for me, I hold no illusions about my skill level with Devil May Cry 1 in particular. I am bad at it. Like, I own that, I wear that. So if I can just beat Dante Must Die, I'm a happy camper. But I'm not gonna, you know, pretend that I'm gonna be good enough ever to beat this on Dante Must Die with, like, decent ranks either, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty honest with myself about it. But eventually I would like to, you know, play through these games and do it, I guess, quote-unquote, legitimately. I don't even know if that's how it's viewed at in the community, because I'll be honest with you, the community as it is now isn't what it was when the game first came out. When the game first came out, the community was I mean, the internet was in its infancy, so I don't know if people really... I know people didn't talk the way they do now about Devil May Cry, but now it's very much more about the characters, the story, you know, it's all wacky woohoo Pizza Man now, and I don't think that's a good representation of Devil May Cry, but, you know, people are inclined to talk about and enjoy the game how they see fit, even if I get to think that they're looking at it the wrong way. And the other problem is a lot of communities are driven by legitimacy. Like what gives you the right and the stance and the whatever to talk about this certain thing? Do you have the credentials? And I think that's another bad way to look at it, because it's like, there's some people, you can say things definitively about a game without having to have beaten it, or without having to have, 100%ed it. And I feel like that's a problem that I have more than anything else, is there is this sort of sense of being like, oh, you haven't beaten this game on the hardest difficulty, or you haven't pure platinumed every mission. You can't talk about it. It's like, yeah, I can. Like, it's, you have to have a little imagination and actually try these certain things to be able to speak concretely about it. But if you take people at their word, and you say, okay, this is what this person says, and I can imagine what it's like to experience that, you're able to speak a little bit more concretely about things, I think. But, that's... and I say that, and it's like, oh, you're coping. And it's like, okay, fine, like, whatever. And if you're talking with someone and they say, like, cope, or they're, trying to dunk on you, you don't need to argue with them. You really don't. Because it's no longer about talking about the thing. It's about being right. It's about being the most correct. And if that's the case, then, like, congratulations. You are the most correct, because I don't want to deal with a childish maroon. I will actually need the handguns for this boss, because he is a bit of a pickle. Getting a good combo rank on this guy is a little bit more difficult than I think other bosses in this game, certainly. But he is quite a fun boss, I think. Certainly more interesting, I think, than Nightmare. I think Nightmare is a little bit... not a whole lot going on there. Whereas this boss has a little bit more going on, I think. Their attacks are a little bit more unique. And I think this boss in particular really exemplifies the, 3-act structure these bosses have, and I think really legitimizes fighting each boss 3 times. Certainly Nightmare does, but this boss, I think, subtly does a little bit more than Nightmare. Alright, now we're gonna... Now that we have to use Ifrit... Uh-oh, the game did not crash. Good. Whew, that was close. But now that we have to use Ifrit, I'll use some time with it. It's a little bit, I think, simpler than Alastor and Force Edge. I think it's a little bit more... a lot less going on mechanically with it, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's more about the build-up, the charge, and, timing your attacks out with what the enemies are doing. And I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to use this thing for very long, because I'm not as attuned with it as I am with every other one. But it is with everything else. Oh, this enemy. about that. That's the problem with doing the lock-on thing, is I have a tendency to... Shit. I have a tendency to, do attacks I don't want to do. Much has been said about this game needing a remake and things like that, and I sort of sit in between. Like, I think, on the one hand, this game is just fine. Like, this game does not need a remake. It is A-okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, freshening up the graphics of the PlayStation 1 Resident Evil games is one thing, but that's not what they did with those games, and that's what concerns me more than anything else about a remake for Devil May Cry 1. Because if you tell me that all this, like, all a remake of Devil May Cry 1 is going to be is making it a little bit more, you know, adding a few more mechanics, making the weapons a little bit more interesting, have more going on, maybe allow on-the-fly weapon switching and style switching from Devil May Cry 3 and 4, like, that'd be one thing. Like, you know, okay, you're gonna need to really improve the enemies if that's the case, and really increase the amount of them, I think. But, I think that certainly can be done, and can be done in an interesting way. I would just, you know, be kind of curious how that looks. But, again, it's one of those things where one of the things that really pisses me off about modern remakes, and they're ubiquitous, there's nothing we can do about it, it's gonna happen. Devil May Cry 1 Remake, regardless of how you feel about it, is gonna happen. If you're someone who is, like, really pro Devil May Cry 1 Remake, congratulations, you're gonna get it. It's inevitable. Like, it's going to happen. If you're someone who's anti-Devil May Cry 1 Remake, you know, I'm sorry. I really am. Because I'm someone, I think, who stands more on the line of I don't want it, but if it's gonna happen, like, you know, show some respect and actually have the original game packaged in with it. Because that's gonna be a lot of people's first time with Devil May Cry 1, and they deserve to play the original. They deserve to have that option to play the original. And even if you can't make them play it, like, still deserve it. But I think if there is a Devil May Cry game that deserves a remake, that deserves another shot at being a fun, engaging experience, it's Devil May Cry 2. Because there's a lot of stuff in that game conceptually in terms of enemy designs, weapon designs, and, you know, stuff like that could be really interesting, you know, and I think that has a certain level of value, but I don't know if we're gonna ever see that happen. They might just, you know, sort of acknowledge that that is the black sheep that we kind of have to acknowledge and is there, but we don't want to have to do anything more than that. But I think it's kind of cool that in the HD collection of this game, twice now, that they've included Devil May Cry 2, even though probably a lot of people at Capcom, Itsuno included, doesn't really want to remember that, doesn't really want to acknowledge that, but it did happen, you know, and I think it's important to have that there to look at and to view. Phew. Alright, I'm not gonna do my usual 2 hours on this. I'm gonna get through mission 11, because I think there's 22 missions in this game. And so I'm gonna do half of it today, and then the other half of it when I get back to it. And again, I'm not guaranteeing it'll be tomorrow. It might be Friday or next week, but we'll just see. I actually had a good day on Marvel Rivals today. It's just I didn't want to stream it, I guess. It's not been that kind of day with Marvel Rivals, I guess, where it's like, yeah, no, I had fun, but I'm kind of done with it for now, you know? That's how it is sometimes, when you play a game every day, you know, because I do play it every day. You get a little bit like, you know, some days you want to play it for hours, and some days you want to play your 2 to 5 matches, and you're like, alright, that's gonna be it. And that was something I was actually surprised by, was when they had that end of year thing back in December, they did, like, you know, how many days you played, and like I did end up playing all 365 days, which was, I was surprised by. Like, I'm usually not, you know, I'm a little behind, but the day it came out I did play. I feel like this kind of mission is in every Devil May Cry game. You know, the follow the light mission. Oh. Maybe not everyone, but I know it's in Devil May Cry 4. I don't have the time to collect your orbs, lady. Good lord, she is just cackling away. Fun enemies. Yeah, Ifrit's a lot of fun. I've made that determination based on how this has been going. It's just, it's a interesting way to add a new weapon and make it a little bit more unique in terms of its playstyle compared to how Alistair, Force Edge, and Sparta play. Oh hey, we got a new nightmare. Yeah, I forgot about these enemies. I don't think Ifrit works super well for these guys, but, you know. I think he likes having a sword swung on him a little bit more than not, but it's fine. There he is again. I'm gonna see if I can ignore this guy. I don't need to go that way. Damn it! Alright. Let's use Sparta. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I don't feel like Sparta or Force Edge are all that good. I really, really don't. Again, maybe I don't have as much experience with this game. Oh, then again, maybe not. I did just smoke that guy. I don't know. I might have some take-backsies to do. But that's a sick move. You have longer reach, and Sparta is a really cool weapon, and I think it really is improved significantly by Trish's use of it in Devil May Cry 4. And we'll do some Trish playthrough in that, and I actually really do like playing as Lady and Trish in Devil May Cry 4. I know Lady, in particular, has a reputation of being a less than stellar hero to use in that game, but I think she's really... I think there's a lot more going on there than people would give credit for. Ow. Oh no. Okay. Well. I might have had to take back my Sparta slander, I'll be honest with you. I mean, the fact that you don't have Devil Trigger is kind of poopy, but that might be worth it with the overall damage that you can do. I remember when I played, I think it was this room on hard. I got so mad in this corner that I just was like, F it, I'm using the rocket launcher and I'm just blowing everybody away. But obviously on normal it's a little bit more, a lot bit more manageable. Oh, you can't air hike with it either. I was wondering, I was like, man, my movement is neutered right now. Hold on. Alright, no. I'm back on my, Sparta slander. I'm gonna look into that though. I'm gonna look up like what exactly Sparta does differently than the other swords. Or yeah. What it does that makes it so special. What makes you special, huh? Alright, let's hop back down here and fight a shitload of enemies. Very satisfying to do that. Now don't you respawn. Alright, good. I was about to say. I was kind of afraid that enemy would respawn. Now, I think... okay. Mm-hmm. No, I think that might have been just like a, hey, you can explore this area now thing. But I think we're on our way to our second Nero Angelo fight. Which will be a nice way to end it off. Yes, okay. We're gonna do that then. Yeah, why not? Alright, let's go, Virgil. I thought about using Ifrit for this fight, but I feel like it's a lot better to use the sword. And I think the last time I played it, I did use Ifrit. So, it'll be a bit better. I whiffed it! That was close. That is Devil May Cry at its best, I think, is having that was close moment, you know? I think that's, like, really what gets people going with video games, is having that moment of feeling like you just missed or you just landed that attack. And I feel like Devil May Cry 1 in particular, the way the different enemies move and the way your character moves, it feels like there's a lot of those moments that can be purpose-built into it. And you can, using Devil Trigger against Nero Angelo in this fight, in particular, really shows just how much of a game changer Devil Trigger can be. But I don't think it's really meant to be used for extended periods like that. I think it's meant to be used in bursts, and so that way you're not... Oh fuck, I almost taunted my way into a hit. But as you can see, it's my go-to is to try and get behind him as much as possible, even though I don't really need to. It's not a necessary element to fighting him. As long as you avoid his combo and punish his openings, like, you're fine. But my propensity to want to get to his blind spot will often lead me into situations like that where I take unnecessary damage when I don't need to. There you go. Alright. I think I said I was going to do 11, so this is going to be the last mission. And there he goes. It's quite shocking how quick this game moves. Like, you know, when I think about playing Devil May Cry 1, I'm thinking like, okay, it's going to be an all-day affair. It's going to be, you know, I'm going to be on it for a couple of weeks or whatever. Like, it definitely feels like something where I'm going to be on it for a while. But it really is quite the short game in terms of, you know, how quickly it moves, but it is jam-packed full of content. Like, I think a lot of times people will talk about game length as though something needs to be super long or whatever, but I don't think length matters as much as, you know, is it nice to play? Is it something where you can continuously go back to it, you know? Like, I think that's what matters more than anything, is this something that you can go back and play. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and stop here for the day, though. I know it's a shorter stream or shorter video, but like I said, Devil May Cry 1 is so short. Like, yeah, see, mission 22. So we're halfway through. I think maybe it's 23 missions, but regardless, next time we play it, it'll be the final part. But yeah, I really do enjoy this game, and I hope if this convinces at least one person to give this game a try, then it will have been worth it. But next time, we're going to finish up with Devil May Cry 1, and I hope you'll join me then. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.